Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a massive Christmas book haul video. I know that this video is going up a little bit late. January is almost over. Yes, my tree is still up. Don't worry about it, okay? It's probably gonna stay up for another week, and you know what? It's making my house feel extra cozy. Keeping my decorations up is making me happy, so I don't know what to tell you, but I am one of those people who don't take down their Christmas decorations for at least a month. It is what it is. Anyways, I am sorry that this video is going up so late. I got sick at the end of 2023. I'm still struggling through that sickness a bit, so if there are any weird cuts in this video, it's probably just me editing out coughing or like phlegm noises. I have a lot of books to talk about today. Technically, some of these aren't actually Christmas presents because I actually haven't done a haul since September. So there are a few books that like I've just accumulated since then that I'm gonna tag on to the end of this. But I have a lot of books to talk about today because I get a ton of books every year for Christmas and I am always happy about it. I am a book collector and I don't apologize for the amount of books that I have. To start off, I thought I would start with the books that I bought for myself as a Christmas present. Every year for the past several years, I have placed a Black Friday order at Book Outlet just because the prices are so stinking good on their Black Friday sale. I just can't help it, and I do consider that like my Christmas present to myself. This year I think I did really great because I was very careful about the books that I bought. I was very conscious about how many books I was adding to my physical TBR, and I was also like, in my opinion, obviously, I was pretty smart with my selection, so I want to start there. First up, I picked up Hollowpox: The Hunt for Morrigan Crow. I got this for $3.50 and I'm so excited. This is the third book in the Morrigan Crow series, which I love. I love it to death. It is so warm and endearing, and there's a hair on my face. Thank you, Dexter. But this is the third book in that series, and I believe the fourth book is coming out this year. I say I believe because the release date for the fourth book in this series has been pushed back twice now, so it's kind of like an I'll believe it when I see it case. But I highly recommend this book, either if you like middle grade or if you have a young reader in your life. Like, it's so whimsical, it's so delightful, and I'm just so happy to have the third one in my hands so I can continue this series. I also picked up the second and third books in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I read the first book in this series this past year, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I loved it. It is a young adult mystery series, and I think that Holly Jackson just did such an amazing job of crafting this mystery. It was fun, it was entertaining, it was like compulsively readable, it was like very well paced. The characters felt super real. Like, honestly, this series, at least book one, I hesitate to say the whole series, but at least book one was like such a well crafted, well written book. And I saw books 2 and 3. Honestly, I don't remember which one of these is book 2 and which one of these is book 3. I promise I'll figure it out before I read them. But yeah, I cannot wait. I'm hoping to finish this series in 2024, and now I can. Similarly to the other books, I picked up Seasonal Fears by Seanan McGuire. This is the second book in her alchemical journey, I believe, quartet. This is the sequel to Middle Game, which is a sci-fi fantasy, urban fantasy series, and it follows alchemists. The first book is about these twins, Roger and Dodger, and their creator because they are creations and trying to attain godhood and using alchemy and breaking all sorts of like the laws of physics. I loved it. Middle Game actually made it to my top 10 books of the entire year, and I was waiting for a while for Seasonal Fears to come out in paperback before I picked it up because I like my copies to match, and then I forgot that I was waiting for it to come out in paperback, and then I saw this on the Black Friday sale and I was like, add to cart, perfect. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what this book is about. Straight up. I know that it's following like different characters than Roger and Dodger. It's like the sequel, but it's not following the same people. It's a completely different story. But you know what? Like, I'm gonna read it and I don't really care what it's about based off of how much I loved Middle Game. And I'm not gonna read the synopsis to you because I think that's boring. So I'm just gonna show you that I bought this book. Is me just showing you the book more boring? Probably for you, but here we are. It is what it is. I'm intentionally trying to make this video short, so should I shut up right now? Yes, let's move on. I also picked up A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is a historical romance. I have been diving into the romance genre in the second half of 2023, and I've mainly been focusing on fantasy romance with like a smattering of contemporary, and I really have not tried historical romance. I decided to pick this book up off of the recommendation from Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, and she loved this book, so I saw it. It was for a good price. I'm gonna give it a try. This is a romance that follows a transgender woman, and she was in the army. There was some type of conflict, and she was presumed dead from that conflict, but she didn't really die, and she kind of uses her death as a way to transition and become the person that she truly wants to be. But then she runs into her, I believe, like best friend from when she was in the army, and he's been like pining and missing her ever since she died, and they reconnect, and I'm assuming they fall in love. I'm assuming he is the Duke for the lady. It sounds really, really cute. I really love romances where like people are friends first, like the friends to lover trope is one that I love, so I'm really looking forward to this. Next up, I picked up Spy Spy Again by Mercedes Lackey. This is the third book in the Family Spies series. Have I read the first two? No, I do have the first one though. Mercedes Lackey was one of my favorite authors growing up. She is one of the very first adult fantasy authors that I ever read from, and I have been collecting her books for several years now after I picked up a bunch of the books that I had from my childhood, from my family home. I do plan to spend quite a bit of time in 2024 rereading the books that I have of hers and then reading some of the newer series that I never have read. So basically every time I see one of the books that I don't have from her on clearance, I pick it up. So hopefully I can find book 2 when I finally get around to this series. And then the last book that I picked up for myself as a Christmas present is We Ride Upon Styx by Quan Berry. So this is an urban fantasy that is about a field hockey team that are also witches. To be honest, I picked this up as like a potential read for the BookTube Knockout series. I wasn't sure when I got this book whether Kayla was going to be moving on to the next round, and this is a book that I was going to read for her if she did. She did not make it to the next round, but it's okay because I love witchy books, and this is one that I've wanted to read for ages, so I was willing to take the risk that she wasn't going to move on because it was clearanced so low. So I have it. I am still happy, and I am still going to read this, even though the video that it was originally intended for is no longer happening. Now I'm going to move on to the gifts that I received from other people for Christmas, starting with this box set of the Expanse series. I got this from my friend Corey, and I'm so thankful. For those of you who don't know, I actually have read Leviathan Wakes, but I borrowed the copy from my friend Vicky, and I loved it. I loved the first book, but I also made a huge mistake, and I read Leviathan Wakes in the same year that I also started the Wheel of Time series, and so I just made the decision that I'm going to focus on finishing the Wheel of Time, and then I'm actually going to reread Leviathan Wakes and then move on with the Expanse series after I've gotten the amount of series that I'm in the middle of a little bit more under control. I'm going to talk about like all the series that I'm in the middle of in my 2024 goals video because it's a lot. It is so much, but I have been dying to read the Expanse series. I cannot wait. I did end up actually getting gifted the collector's edition last year of Leviathan Wakes, but now I can leave the collector's edition in pristine condition. I can read this version and then I can continue on with the series, which is very exciting. I have books 1 through 3 now, and I can't wait to read these. Jake's grandmother got me The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is a book that I used to know what it is about, and I've kind of forgotten at this point. I believe it is about this boy whose sister was killed in an accident, but the accident was kind of like a culmination of her getting involved with this kind of like girl gang who are sort of culty and like also sort of witches, and you're not really sure. And I believe the boy kind of like wants to dive into this like friend group and find out like what really happened with his sister and like what led to all these like crazy behavioral changes she was making and like personality changes and like ultimately what led to her death. I definitely could be wrong about this, like that's just going off of memory, and similar to before, I'm trying to keep this video short, so I'm not going to read the synopsis out right now, but I'm very excited. This book is gorgeous, and like also I love that the spine is different. It's like this is what it looks like from the front, but like on the shelf it's gonna look like this, and I don't know, I just like that the spine is so different. I don't know, it's a small detail, but it matters to me. And then Jake's dad's girlfriend got me The Water Outlaws by S.L. Wong. This is a historical novel. I am not sure if it is fantasy, not fantasy, or like somewhere in the middle, like semi-fantastical, maybe some magical realism, but this follows a woman who is like an arms instructor for the army, and I don't really know what happens, and it does not, the synopsis is unclear, but something happens where like a powerful man comes in and some event happens, and as a result this woman is branded as like a traitor and she's sent into exile, but then she ends up kind of in this like band of misfit like bandit slash Robin Hood type of gang called the Water Outlaws, and you know, they begin a little rebellious activity, as one does. This was actually on my most anticipated releases of 2023, but unfortunately because of all the videos I had planned, I never got around to picking it up, and now I'm so excited to have it. Also, it's like kind of tiny and like shorter than like the standard hardback size, and I think that's really cute and I like it. Jake's dad himself got me 3 books for Christmas, the first being The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the only book by her that I have not read. Last year I read the first Amina book, and I also finished up the Daevabad trilogy. The Empire of Gold is another book that made it into my top 10 of the entire year. I love Shannon Chakraborty's writing. She is an all-time favorite author of mine, and this is basically, I believe, 3 short stories that are set in like the Daevabad trilogy. I believe they follow like some minor side characters, and I love that series so much, so I'm just looking forward to being back in that world, and hopefully this will kind of tide me over until her next book comes out. Jake's dad also got me How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I have not gotten a 5-star read from Grady Hendrix, but despite that, there is something special about the writing style of this man that really just satisfies something in my brain. I just am so hoping that one of these days one of his books will be a 5-star. If I was rating just purely on the writing style, all of his books would be 5 stars. Like, truly, I love his writing style. So even if I don't love every single book from him that I've read, and like some of them I liked some parts and disliked other parts, honestly, I think I'm going to read anything he puts out just because of how well he writes. This is a adult horror. It follows siblings who have to sell their parents' house after their parents die, and the house is haunted. I also know that there's like creepy puppets in here, which I think I'm gonna dig. Like, I think I'm gonna like the creepy puppets. I know there's a lot of themes of family and grief in here, which are themes that I love exploring in books. So maybe this will be my first 5-star by Grady Hendrix. Truly, I hope so. We'll find out. And then the last book that Jake's dad got me, which might be the book in this entire video that I am the most excited to read, The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I genuinely don't know what this book is about. I know that at least part of it is set in a library. I know it follows like a boy and a girl, but there's just something about the way people talk about this book after reading it where like it makes me feel like it changed something about their brain chemistry, and that is what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for in my fantasy novels, so I cannot wait to read this. This will be my first novel by Mark Lawrence, but like I'm so very intrigued. I'm not going to read the synopsis, but I think I might do an entire reading vlog about this book, and we'll just see. We'll see how I feel. Next up are 2 books that I got in a buy one get one 50% off sale for Barnes & Noble. The first one I picked up Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This I will be reading very soon because this I picked up for a booktube knockout. I cannot wait. I have been having a moment with fantasy romance, and I've heard that this is just like so cute and whimsical and cozy, and I cannot wait. I can't wait to read this. Because of the buy one get one 50% off sale, I also picked up A Man Called Ove, or Ove, I'm not sure to be honest, by Fredrik Backman. I've only read one book by Fredrik Backman, but I already want to say that he's a favorite author because he is just so very talented. I mean, I now have 2 unread books of his, and I'd like to read both of them this year. So hopefully after I have read 3 of his books, I will still say that he's a favorite author, but I'm just really excited to dive more in to see what Fredrik Backman has to offer. As part of my, several years long goal of getting my physical TBR to 50 books, I've been pretty good with limiting the books that I have been picking up from Book of the Month, but I do have one to talk about that I have picked up since September, and that is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Listen, all you have to do to get me interested in a book is tell me that it's a gothic story about a maybe potentially haunted house. Give it a pretty cover and listen, I'm in, I'm sold. I've never read anything by Alex E. Harrow, but I'm definitely eager to give them a try. And gothic haunted house, I literally don't need anything else. I'm in. If you all know my taste in reading, and also if you watched my most anticipated releases from 2023, it should come as no surprise that I picked up Defiant by Brandon Sanderson and Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, also by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 4 and the final book in the Skyward series. I have one novella to read and then I can read this and finish this series. This is a young adult sci-fi series that follows Spensa, who is one of the last remaining humans. I've talked about this series a lot. It's extremely popular, so I don't really feel like I have to go into it. Plus, this is book 4. I didn't love Cytonic, but I do have faith in Brandon Sanderson's ability to wrap up a series, so I'm eager to see what happens in Defiant. Of course, I picked up Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This is the third of 4 secret projects, and like I've said about all the other secret projects, I am intentionally not learning anything about any of these books before I pick them up. I want to go in knowing absolutely nothing. Don't tell me anything about this, please. I don't even want to know if you liked it or if you hated it. I know that I'm going to read this and I just want to go in knowing nothing. So I have this book. That's all you're getting from me. After reading The Ninth Reign, I also picked up The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. The Ninth Reign was one of my favorite books of the year last year. This is the second book in that trilogy, and hopefully I like this as much as the first. It is a weird series. There's like half vampire elves, a tree god, space insects that are invading the planet. There's so much weird stuff in this book series and it all just works and I really like it. So I'm very eager to see what happens in book 2 after the ending of book 1. If you didn't know, I do have like a very small book club that I run out of my Discord. It's just like me and a couple friends, but we all take turns picking what books we're going to read. And in January, my friend picked A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. So you can see I'm actually already halfway through this and I need to read this week's section. So I bought this. I'm loving this so far. I think it is so fun, super well written. So we'll see, wait till the final wrap up, but so far I'm really liking this and I definitely would recommend. But I also picked up the sequel. This is A Psalm of Storms and Silence, and this is just a duology, so it's just these 2 books. This will be read in February because of the book club, so I don't really feel bad getting the sequel before I finished it because I did want to start it on February 1st like I normally do. So if you want to join my book club, this is what we are reading in January. This is what we're reading in February. In March, we're going to be reading Jurassic Park, which I've never read before, but like I'm so intrigued. So far, this is a fantastic series. I haven't posted my 2024 goals video yet. That will probably be coming next week. That video should have already been posted, but again, the end of 2023 was a bit of a mess for multiple reasons. But the whole point of me saying this is in 2024, I am placing myself on some restrictions in terms of book buying, and I'm not on a book buying ban. Like, I definitely will be purchasing some books this coming year, but I think my number one goal for this year is about getting my physical TBR number lowered. After I decided about these goals about buying books, I was like, well, that starts January 1st, so I might as well buy a couple of books before that happens, you know, kind of try and cheat the system. But like, I mean, it's my own rules, so I don't know how I can cheat it, but that's not the point. Anyways, I have been having a moment with fantasy romance, and so I ended up picking up 2 fantasy romance books Sort of, you'll see. I did some research. I'm really just trying to find ones with like really, really amazing romance, but like also amazing plot. Like the plot is really important to me. So I did some research and I found 2 series that I think I'm going to like. I got the first book in both of them. The first one is Blood and Steel. I think the final book in this series also comes out in February. So if I like it, I can just like marathon till the end of the series, which is definitely something I'm interested. This has like a little bit of like a Hunger Games type competition, I think, and also has like a mentor-mentee type of relationship trope, which I don't know that I like or not. I don't know if I like that or not. We'll have to see, but based off of the reviews, I decided to give this one a try. And then I also have Court of Blood and Bindings and Lord of Gold and Glory. This is why I said sort of 2 books. This one I got last year in December, I swear, but I have already read this year and I did like it. I gave it 4 stars. So I did end up picking up the second book in this series, which again, I've already started. I'm about a quarter of the way through the second book. This is a fae fantasy romance, and I would say that like there definitely are a lot of similarities to A Court of Thorns and Roses in here, and this series does get compared to it quite a bit. Listen, I'm sorry to break it to you, but Sarah J Maas did not invent like fairies with big schlongs, okay? Like, she does not own the copyright on that idea. So I wouldn't necessarily say like I go out of my way to find like fairy romances, but I will say that I gave the first book in this series 4 stars and I am enjoying the second book in this series. I will talk more about it in my January wrap up, but so far this is a win. Okay, there you go. Those are all of the books that I got for myself for Christmas, that I was gifted for Christmas, plus all of the books that I have randomly accumulated since September. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I've got my 2024 reading goals video coming up. I've got an unhaul video coming up. I'm already working on 2 different vlogs, even though those vlogs probably won't come out until February, but thank you again for being here today. I really, really appreciate the support. I hope you stay safe this week. I hope you stay warm if it is cold where you are this time of year, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!